Hello.
Alright, it's a new year. I bought another Gibson archtop. I don't know why I do this to myself, but I bought an ES-175 that's in pretty poor condition. It arrived yesterday, and I just looked to make sure that it arrived fine, but I haven't actually looked at the guitar. So in this video, we'll take a look at the guitar, see what needs to be fixed, see what its overall condition is, and then start to work on it a little bit. Oh boy. So this is a 1970 Gibson ES-175D, which stands for the dual pickups. So as I look over it first, some of the things that the seller had said were there was not a neck break, which is fantastic. It doesn't look like the refinish actually went over the neck portion, which is good. Get there. It's got Gibson deluxe tuners. One of them is allegedly bent. I don't know which one it is. The G string, so it still does work, but potentially needs to be replaced. There's a nice patina with the brown knobs here. Actually, the knob here is cracked, so I suspect what might have happened is somebody hit it on something and not only bent the rim, but it also cracked the tuning button. In terms of the fretboard, it definitely needs to be refretted, which is fine. I knew that going into it, and that's a relatively minor job. The fretboard seems fine. It's definitely been a well-played guitar, so I think that is a positive in that somebody really enjoyed this guitar, and so hopefully, or not hopefully, it probably sounds really great. The action is actually fine. It's one of those things that as long as the guitar plays, it can always be made better. But if the action was this high, it wouldn't have been that great. And so moving down to the body, the three-way selector switch is really loose and floppy. I suspect I'll have to replace that. In fact, the whole switch thing gasket is all kind of falling apart, which is fine. The biggest issue you run into is actually here, and so I knew this going in, but it's hard to even reflect how crazy this is. The warp in the soundboard top is so dramatic that you can see the neck pickup here is slanted in a wild angle. The bridge pickup is very high to make it relative to the strings. But by the same token, everything is actually in the right plane. So I think as long as the electronics work, this guitar is going to play just fine. It just doesn't look very good right now.
Yeah.
You can sort of see here the quality of the refinish. There's all sorts of
Lumps and bumps.
Lumps and bumps, yes, as Nate points out. That's obviously not original. It's not clear to me what was used yet. We'll test out some to see if it was shellac. I'll put a little bit of alcohol on it, see if I can rub it off. There's not really any breaks as far as I can tell, which is fantastic. These guitars are made of multiple plies of maple and poplar, and so they are a little bit more resistant to cracking than solid back and sides. It smells old. It smells kind of moldy. In fact, you can see a little bit of who knows what in there.
I see something.
Yeah, the pot can't really get it in there, but it's greened over. This bridge, I would imagine, can't be original. It's pretty high. And then I don't know if the tailpiece was replaced or not. It looks pretty old. The tone and the volume knobs are completely destroyed, so we'll be replacing those. That might actually be an interesting thing to see if I can 3D print. That won't be for this video. All the binding still seems to be attached. I think overall it's definitely in poor condition as I expected, as the seller indicated, but it is in playable condition, and that's the most important part. And so I think the first thing I'm going to do is just remove the strings, see if I can clean this up a little bit.
Yeah, I just noticed that there's look, some of that gold is shipping off.
so that's lacquer.
Huh?
So Nate just pointed out that on the headstock, the lacquer is chipping off, which gives an interesting effect. The lacquer has yellowed over time, which makes it look a little gold, and then the white mother of pearl underneath shows through, and so you have this kind of gold and white chipping effect. I'm going to do my best not to change any of the finish on the neck because it doesn't look like it was refinished, and it does have that vintage, you know, checked lacquer, and I don't want to kind of remove the patina, but I am going to clean it off to at least get it back into proper playing shape. Okay, so we got the strings off. Look at the fretboard. The frets are just completely played through, which again, you know, being that I was already expecting to repair this guitar, I think it's actually a very good sign that somebody played this guitar till basically the frets disappeared. There's so many string indentations and everything else. It's not a question of whether this is going to get replaced or not. I got my calipers here. It'll be interesting to see how tall these frets are. 1.03 millimeters. And then when you get down to this fret actually reads 0 millimeters on my calipers, and that's amazing. 0.7, 0.8 millimeters. You're literally talking, these are barely above the fretboard. So that might be a little bit of a challenge to get the wire out, but you know, that's okay. And when I look at the side here, the binding is actually, you know, well adhered to the neck, which is great. So I don't really think there's an issue from here to here, other than maybe the tuner can be replaced, needs to be refretted, but the board is nice and dark, nice and smooth. All the inlays appear to be fine.
We're probably gonna need to fix this binding around it. Like, looks a little. Like,
well, the binding's dirty, but it also has the finish on it, so that's okay. I think the next thing I'm interested in is whether or not these pickups are original. The owner said they were, so I'm going to check. To do that, though, I'm going to need to remove the pick guard, it appears, and then we can take off the pick guard rings, which they're actually quite loose here, and so we'll do that next and see what we get. All right, taking off the pick guard is fairly easy. It's got a couple of screws, so we'll just take them off.
is this how they used to like get it? Like, is this how they used to hold it?
Hold what?
Like the pick guard with this like metal thing?
Yeah, we still do. This kind of guitar is called an arch top, and so it goes like this, and so you need to have a riser to attach it because there's nothing to attach it to. Neck pickup is, or the neck pick guard screw is stripped out, so to figure out how to get that out. Nate had a good idea here to let's possibly use a hobby knife to clean out the screw. It's not going to make it after we get it out, so we'll replace it with a new one. But
I think the other screws will. Hopefully it doesn't break.
managed to get it out without ruining the guitar, mostly not the pick guard, and so we'll just put this aside for now. With the pick guard removed, now I can hopefully take a look at this. The screws don't appear to be in much better shape than that, so hopefully this doesn't destroy these screws.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That came out pretty well.
so yeah, I do believe these are original, one because they're so gross and dirty, but I believe in 1970 Gibson might have started using the T-top pickups. These have a patent number sticker on them. I'm going to call them original, or call this one original. and then let's take a look at what the bridge looks like. Before I do that, it's really wild. I'll bring this closer. I mean, this is completely warped as a pickup ring, and so on the one hand, it's completely warped. On the other, it's warped to conform to the body here, and so I don't know if I could replace it, or if I did, I'd have to kind of, you know, warp a new one. Looking at the inside of the cavity here, the braces are actually intact. And so I'm wondering if someone didn't leave this guitar in a hot car or something and the top caved in, because I don't feel any loose braces or hear anything rattling around. And so, you know, how we fix that, we'll see.
Looks like the inside looks pretty decent. I mean, screw this phone here.
Ugh.
Oh boy.
And same thing here, we got a patent number sticker, and so it looks reasonably, you know, the same as the neck, and so again, I would expect that this hasn't been replaced or touched.
That, like, the slink kind of part looks like yellow.
Yeah,
looks more yellow. Like the other one's like silver.
That's okay.
Silver and yellow.
The same thing, the parallel bracing, there's a brace that goes this way and it goes this way.
Oh, you can see where they made like the...
They're intact, and so it's wild that, you know, this could bend as much as it did when there is a wooden brace on both sides. Again, lots of gunk and stuff in here, so we'll deal with that.
A lot of stuff.
But cool, I mean, if the electronics work, you know.
I mean, we can't really tell from what we've seen right now.
Yeah, it's got gigantic pots in it, which I've never seen pots that look like that before, but they look old.
You can see it, like, through the thing. Like, some of it's even, like, right there. So...
Interestingly, this bridge is supposed to move. I don't think it's glued down, but I think it when they replaced the finish, they either left it in place or it's melted in place, which is fine. We'll inspect that next, but it's just kind of interesting. I really wish I knew the story of how this guitar got like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so the pickup back in place. I'm going to do this bridge. This actually comes off. Oh, yes, it was
melted. You can just take it off, just like that.
Okay, so it was double-sided taped down, double-stick taped down, which is fine, but it also does appear that whenever they did this refinish, they just left it in place. So it's not hard to figure out exactly where that goes. So
yeah, lucky for us, they left an outline right there. So
I'm not worried about it.
This metal piece looks pretty funky.
Yeah, pretty crusty. So we'll leave this here, but it does appear that that's fine. So
double-sided tape is strong.
Last thing is these knobs. I'm going to leave them in place right now, but they have to be replaced. They're so disgusting.
This paint, like, look at
yeah, the reason there's white paint there is these are jokingly called the thumb bleeders because they're pointy and you kind of nick your finger on them. They did it so you could see. And so this again leads me to believe that this guitar was tremendously heavily played because they wore the numbers off the knobs.
I think they tried to repaint it.
They tried to repaint it, but they also put paint here. And so if this was somebody's main, you know, stage guitar, you know, they might have really loved it. And so, yeah, I mean, overall, there's a lot of pieces that are kind of worn out. I'll replace them as necessary. But now I'm going to just try and clean off the paint a little bit and see if I can get this finish, see what this finish does, or at least if it just cleans up and it looks a little nicer.
Yeah, almost like you can like feel it. Like, look at that. Yeah, and also the previous owner, there's like red marker where the thing is. Like,
Yeah, I don't know why they would have
Maybe
drawn over it in red, but
maybe they scribbled it out because, like, if each one does a different thing, then they might have scribbled it out because, like, I know this by now.
after we restring it, we'll see if these pots make any noise, see if they need any cleaning. But I think ideally I'd get to the point where I didn't have to deal with the electronics at all. I don't know if I'll get away with that on this three-way switch here, but I have wired a guitar like this before, and it is a hassle to kind of fish everything through. So if I can get away with not taking out the electronics, that would be ideal. Okay, so I got some denatured alcohol. That's probably the least aggressive of solvents that you can use on a guitar. And what I'm doing here is actually taking an educated guess and seeing if they used shellac, which is alcohol dissolvable. And so in just a very small place, I'm going to rub it with alcohol, see if the finish comes off. If it does, that means this is a shellac coating over top of the lacquer coating that Gibson would have used. The good thing is that lacquer is not alcohol soluble, and so if I do take off some of the finish, it won't take off the original finish.
Meaning we won't have to finish it again.
I'll probably have to finish it again, but at the very least...
Still have some of that. Ooh.
Yep.
That looks like it's coming.
It appears that it's shellac, so you can see
shellac.
That, you know, what's coming on here, and it's making it very sticky, which for most people is a bad thing. In our case, because we're planning to actually fix this, it's a great thing. And so rather than attack this with sandpaper or something else first, it can actually take a bit of time with some denatured alcohol and actually rub into it. And so
we're going to rub the whole thing?
We're not going to rub the whole thing right now, but you know, this could be its own kind of refinishing video. Yeah, this is wild. I'm so excited about this. I'm not going to do it for this video, but I'm so excited to see if I can bring back the finish without actually you know, using any sandpaper or anything. So I'm going to leave this be for now. I've softened it now that I put the solvent on it, and so we'll just let it kind of air out for a little bit. But yeah, I'm super excited to see if I can clean this whole thing up just using denatured alcohol.
It doesn't look like this is in like really bad like shape or anything. It looks like it's pretty.
Yeah, I think it might be the original tailpiece. I don't think this bridge is original though, and so it would have come with a wooden one. I think people put this on there so that you could do the intonation of the strings with the individual saddles. And so, I mean, it's old, but it might not be original. That's fine. I don't care that anything is necessarily original on this.
Yeah, maybe it came with like this, but then they added this thing.
Possibly. So the next step I'm going to do is just clean off the fretboard with naphtha. This is a much more aggressive cleaner. I know it's okay for here. We're going to restring this and see, you know, if the electronics work and how I can make it play, knowing full well that this is a full restoration project.
Oh yeah, could have done.
All right, so it's cleaned it off a little bit. It's not too bad. If I'm not mistaken, Gibson would have still been using Brazilian rosewood at this time, you know, which you can't even get today. So
that's cool.
Most people can't get today. All the inlays appear to be intact. This is one of those things I'll have to see when I decide to refret this. There is a very distinct patina on the fretboard. It probably would be better if I, you know, did a light sanding to smooth everything out, but at the same time, then you lose kind of that vintage vibe. So, however, right now I don't see any breaks or anything in the fretboard. Nothing seems loose. The binding seems fine, and so I think the next step is actually to put some strings on this and see if it'll hold up under string tension. I don't have any flat wound strings in the house, but I do have some 11 to 49 gauge, which is a heavier gauge, so this will at least be similar in string tension to the flat wounds that belong on it. The guitar has been restrung with round wound 11s. It seems to be holding up pretty well. Obviously, we'll see that in the coming days. You know, the action is fine. I haven't checked the intonation. I have tuned it. So let's just see briefly how it sounds, see if there's any problems with electronics. So that's the neck pickup. The volume pot actually is fine, doesn't make any noise. So could be cleaned, but doesn't sound like it has any crackles in it. The marshmallow tone. Middle position.
These knobs work. Everything's...
The bridge. So amazingly, you know, the electronics seem to be working perfectly. As crazy as the top looks, the soundboard, we'll have to really think about whether or not I'm going to actually try and fix it at all. The pickups are roughly in the right position. Obviously, I can, you know, manipulate the strings, the action, and all that stuff. But just as it sits right now, the guitar is actually in fully playable condition. So I wouldn't have believed it when I opened up the case. But of course, that's, you know, a fantastic result. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of work that needs to be done. I need to get new knobs or make new knobs. We'll need to fix the pickguard screw.
Yeah.
Assuming this is shellac, like I think, you know, it's going to be quite a considerable amount of work just to rub off all of that undesired finish. It needs to be refretted, certainly. But yeah, I mean, for the price I paid and for the, you know, the age of this guitar and being in 1970, I'm really looking forward to restoring this. You know, if it plays and sounds this well in this poor of a condition, it's only going to get better. And so just to finish it up, I'm going to maybe play a little bit of pseudo jazz, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
So yeah, we barely did anything. We just took off some stuff, restringed it, hooked it up to that, and that's it. And it sounds that good. So
yeah, only going to get better.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.